This was one of the Big Ten's best football games in 2022. Can Maryland and Ohio State run it back again? Will we get another classic in Columbus on Saturday?
From LA to Piscataway, all Big Ten all year long. This is Big Ten 10.
The Terps gave the Buckeyes everything they could handle and then some last season. Even though the final score reflects a two-possession win for Ohio State, there was a fumble with a second and change that the Buckeyes scooped and scored for a touchdown. But this was a one-possession back-and-forth game where Maryland was hanging with the Buckeyes all the way to the bitter end last year on the East Coast in Maryland. This year, I think you could see another good game. Right now, the spread is 18.5 in favor of Ohio State. Maryland is in cover territory, I think, right now. When I really break this one down, I think there's one thing that really stands out to me that could really swing this game one way or another, and it's Maryland's ability to take the football away. Maryland's ability to force turnovers. Right now, the Terps are tied for first in the Big Ten in interceptions, 8. They've taken the ball away 8 times via the air, and they are tied for third in the country in takeaways right now. Tied for first in the Big Ten in takeaways with Penn State with 12. This is a team as good as any in the United States of America in forcing you into doing things that you don't want to do, taking the football away and creating great opportunities for their offense. If I'm Ryan Day and if I'm Brian Hartline in practice this week, there is one thing that I am absolutely preaching. Duct tape the ball to the hands of the offensive skill players. Protect the football. If Ohio State limits turnovers, if they protect the ball, they are a superior, talented team over the Maryland Terrapins. There are better players at pretty much all positions. Now, Maryland is still a really good team, and this is Ohio State we're talking about, right? They recruit top 5 year after year after year after year. So there's nothing bad about not being the most talented team on the field when you take on Ohio State. But if you're the Buckeyes, take care of the football, and and the talent wins out in the end. But if you're Maryland, you gotta maybe force Kyle McCord into doing things that he doesn't want to do. Bring the heat. Do things to confuse him on defense. Try to force turnovers. Because that's one thing for Maryland that could maybe sway things the other way. Give your offense a short field and take advantage of those plays early in the game. Speaking of short fields, you go back to that game against Michigan State, the turnovers were huge for Maryland. They forced a lot of turnovers, had a lot of short fields in that game, and they converted them into touchdowns, points, field goals, that kinds of thing. What happens in that game against the Spartans if they don't have all those short fields? Yes, Maryland still wins the game, but it might look a little bit different. The score might look a little bit different in the end in that game. This is a great combination with Maryland right now in what their defense is doing and what they have on offense, of course, with the great quarterback play of Taulia Tagavailoa, good running game, and some great weapons on the outside as well. It's a combination that works really, really good for Mike Locksley and the Maryland Terrapins. Now, you kind of look, Maryland takes the football away really well, right? And if you look into the stats a little bit, Ohio State should be able to protect the football because both Maryland and Ohio State are tied for second in the Big Ten in the least amount of turnovers. Both the Terps and the Buckeyes have only turned the football over 3 times each this season. Now, what's crazy to me is Penn State is number 1 in the Big Ten in that category. They've yet to turn the football over this season. By the way, they're the only team in college football to do that. That's pretty ridiculous. That's pretty crazy as of this point. So Maryland and Ohio State have done a great job taking care of the football. Boy, when you look at it from a Terps point of view, boy, that's the formula to winning football. That's what they teach you in 4th and 5th grade. Force turnovers, take care of the football on offense. That's a winning formula. Ohio State, they've taken care of the football so far this season. So the history, the stats so far this season, at least right now, tell us going into this game that Ohio State should be able to take care of the football in this game against the Terps. But I think this is a little bit of a different challenge, I think, for Ohio State. Should be interesting to see how that all goes this season. Now, we know both the Buckeyes and Maryland have great passing attacks, right? We know about Taulia Tagavailoa and the weapons that he has at his disposal. We know about Kyle McCord. He's getting his feet under him a little bit as the starter right now, and we know the great wide receiving core that Ohio State has. This is an Ohio State defense right now that is second in the Big Ten in pass defense. Okay, both defenses, you got to imagine, are going to be clued in on the opponent's passing game. I'll get to that here in just a little bit. But this is a Buckeye pass defense that is very, very good. I think in the preseason, a lot of people, including myself, talked about the front seven at Ohio State, but it's been the back end, the secondary, that I think has really impressed me so far. This Ohio State defense is only allowing 149 yards through the air per game. Right now. They're coming off a great performance where they held Sam Hartman, right, a Heisman candidate quarterback, to just 175 yards passing. So that's going to be a challenge for Maryland in this game. Can the Terps move the football? I believe there's a good chance that Maryland is going to have time to throw, which leads me into my next point. So the challenge is going to be those matchups in the secondary. Ohio State's pass rush, JT Tuimoloau, Michael Hall Jr., Jack Sawyer, right? You got really good players getting after the quarterback. Really good players. But they have just 5 sacks this season. Just 5. That is good enough for second to last. 13th in the Big Ten in sacks right now. And kind of on the flip side of that, I said that Taulia Tagavailoa might have time to throw because Maryland has been great in pass protection so far this season. Tied for second in the Big Ten. Right now, only allowing 3 sacks this season. So if Maryland can protect the passer and keep this Ohio State pass rush at bay, it's all about the matchups. It's all about the matchups on the outside. Maryland, you got guys, Ty Felton, who just put up 3 touchdowns against Indiana. Ty Felton, you look at Jashawn Jones, Corey Dyches in there as well, Caden Prather, Tyrese Chambers. Like, there's a lot of good weapons on the outside. I think this Ohio State pass defense that I just talked about is going to be challenged. I think the Buckeyes, you got to get a pass rush in this game. You got to pressure Taulia Tagavailoa. If Taulia is able to just sit back there and throw, he's a good enough quarterback where he's going to find the open guy, whether it's man, whether it's zone back there. I think he's going to have opportunities to move the football, potentially against Ohio State, but you know, there is some good matchups maybe that Ohio State could favor. It's going to be very interesting. I look at this one, and I see what Ohio State has and what they've done against past defenses, and that's really good. But then I see what Maryland has. It's just a really good matchup. It's just a really good matchup. I'm not quite sure which way it's going to go as of right now. Remember last season, Taulia threw for 293 yards and 2 touchdowns last season. So that could possibly tell you something the way maybe this one is going to go. We know both defensive coordinators are going to focus in on the pass game because why wouldn't they, right? So I think both of these teams, who I think both have pretty decent secondaries, Ohio State's better than Maryland's, but they both have good secondaries. I think both of these teams are going to be dialed in on the pass game. They're going to be well prepared for what the opponent wants to do throwing the football. So I could very well see whoever runs the football the best, right? Whether it's Maryland with Roman Hemby, Antoine Littleton, and Colby McDonald, or whether it's Ohio State with Trevion Henderson and Chip Trainum and Mayan Williams, like whoever runs the football the best, I feel is going to come out on top in this one. Because those defenses are going to be dialed in on what the other wants to do, throwing the football. Whoever mixes in the run game the best at different times during the game, I think could come away with the victory. Look, Ohio State is the more talented team in this game. Maryland, you're going to have to force turnovers. You're going to have to turn them into points. You're going to have to pounce early and keep your foot on the gas pedal throughout this game. I think for Maryland to be in it like they were last season, a lot of things have to go right. This is a better Buckeye defense than it was a year ago, so that's going to be more of a challenge for the Maryland Terrapins. I think this is going to be a competitive game. I think this is going to be, even though Ohio State had a really good test against Notre Dame, and Notre Dame is a really good team, this is also a good team in the Maryland Terrapins. Very excited to see how this one is going to end. I want to hear what you guys think. Do you think the Buckeyes run away with it? Do you think they cover the 18.5? Or do you think Maryland ends up making this something like a 2-possession game in the end? Leave your thoughts in the comments below about all things Ohio State and Maryland. I'm Big Ten Ted. We'll see you in the next one.
Thanks for watching Big Ten Ted, where it's all Big Ten all year long. Make sure to like the video to spread the word of Big Ten Ted to the masses, and subscribe to the channel for updates on Big Ten content that drops every day.